Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Better Call Saul Season 2, Episode 7, Inflatable. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Better Call Saul, so I'll have to give a spoiler warning for Better Call Saul up to Season 2, Episode 7. If you haven't seen up to this point, you may not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So what can I say about tonight's episode? Not a whole lot happened in it, but it was a spectacle to behold, and I was frankly blown away by how stylized this episode was from start to finish, and would say overall it was one of the funniest episodes the show has ever done. So we start off with a flashback to Jimmy as a kid in his dad's store. Now when I first saw this, my first reaction was to sigh and be totally against this and think it was going to be a complete waste of time, but it was actually was a pretty good scene because we heard about his father's store from Chuck's perspective, and from Chuck's perspective, Jimmy completely ruined his father's business, which is further baggage that Chuck holds against Jimmy. But we get to see it through Jimmy's perspective on how his dad was naive and being taken advantage of by all the con men around, and he kind of got into it from there. I actually thought this was really good insight, and as the show always does, it shows you the other side of the story. So then in present times we see Jimmy lawyering for Mike as Mike goes to tell the DA that the gun isn't Tuco's. However, he doesn't claim that the gun is his, so he doesn't get charged, but the DA can tell that Mike is lying and that he's either threatened or paid off. However, it turns out it's actually both. So Mike is silent as usual, and once they leave the room, Jimmy tries to tell Mike he did the right thing by, telling him about his own experiences with Tuco, but this just pisses Mike off, who brushes him off, and Mike is obviously not happy with having to do this. And towards the end of the episode, we see Mike, looking at some sort of cafe, which I think has something to do with the Salamancas. So it's apparent he's just really pissed off about this and doesn't like the fact that he had to roll over like that. So I think it's possible he might try to do something that may upset this truce, but we'll see. So then we see Jimmy return to Davis in Maine, and he's pretty much decided to quit, and he gets Omar to write a letter of resignation for him, but Omar points out that if he quits, he'll have to pay back his bonus, and this was a really funny scene. I really liked how Jimmy was nitpicking the wording, and Omar's just like, "You're quitting?" And then Jimmy's response when he tells him that about the bonus was absolutely priceless. "Oh, resignation? No, just forget I've ever said that." It was hilarious. So then we see Jimmy driving, and he's really upset and uptight for having to be trapped in his job that he doesn't like, until he comes across one of these inflatable guys in a business suit, and then all of a sudden he has this huge smile on his face, so it's obvious that at this moment he decides to act like a jerk until Cliff decides to fire him. So then we get another awesome Better Call Saul montage where he dresses in all sorts of colorful suits, the type he is known for in Breaking Bad, and he does all sorts of other stuff to piss people off by getting a juicer that makes a lot of noise and that spurts out juice all over people, and refusing to flush the toilet. And that scene that he's you can tell he's telling the vacuum cleaner how to vacuum in Spanish, and the guy's like, "Dude, I'm from Michigan." That was hilarious. But the best part comes when he goes to the pawn shop to buy an annoying musical instrument. At first he sees an electric guitar, then a trumpet, and then an accordion. So when he saw the accordion, I thought, well, this is it. What could possibly be more annoying than an accordion? In fact, I thought it was a bit overkill. But then he sees something that catches his eyes, and in the next scene, you hear him playing the bagpipes. And I gotta be honest here, I was laughing my ass off at this scene, and it got even better once Cliff came in and confronted him and Jimmy was trying to be all innocent. It was absolutely hilarious, some of the best comedy Better Call Saul has ever done. So Cliff has finally had enough and calls him in his office and says, "Okay, you win, you're fired. He knows exactly what Jimmy's doing, and he's trying to get fired because he can't quit without giving back his bonus. But Cliff asks why. What did he do to him to make him so unhappy? And Jimmy just explains he's a square peg in a round hole. Just not the right fit. So Cliff asks him why he took the job in the first place. And I think the correct answer is because of Kim. And once she tells him that she was wrong to force him into the job, he has no reason to stay there. And he comes to terms with the fact that he's just not happy there. But Jimmy doesn't say any of this to Cliff, of course, and instead tells him that for what it's worth, he's a really good guy. And Cliff responds by saying, for what it's worth, you're an asshole. And that again was hilarious. Okay, so next we see Kim agonizing on how best to write her letter of resignation to HHM when Jimmy shows up and proposes that they go into business for themselves and start their own firm, Wexler and McGill. Kim doesn't seem sure. She questions Jimmy about it, and Jimmy comes up with a lot of good responses until she asks if Jimmy is going to play it straight or be colorful. And Jimmy starts to say he'll play it straight, but then he was just bullshitting her and decides not to. He decides to be honest and let her know that he's going to be himself and do things his way. So Kim responds by saying, well, they're lovers and that should be good enough because they're not really business partners. Being lovers, he should be happy with that. So he accepts that and they part on good terms. Then Jimmy gets his old car back and prepares to move back into his little place behind the salon. Omar helps him move in, and he's looking like he's taking it really badly, as he really liked Jimmy and is upset that he quit. Then we see Jimmy working on his new message for his answering machine, and he does that phony British accent like he used to, and then you see he thinks better of it. I was almost expecting of him to just bring up the name Saul Goodman right there, but I guess that's coming later. So next we see Kim meeting with the other law firm for the job offer, and the interview goes really well, but afterwards she accidentally calls the main guy Howard, but he's like, it's alright. But Kim seems really unhappy as she's looking at the business card that Jimmy made up for them, and then she goes to visit Jimmy and she says that she wants to do it, but with the condition that they are not partners but separate firms, but they can share the same office so they can share the expenses and help each other out, but while being able to run their own firm their own way. So Kim doesn't have to worry about Jimmy's shenanigans messing her up, and Jimmy doesn't have to worry about her cramping his style. Now, I couldn't quite get a read on Jimmy's reaction. I couldn't tell if he was overly happy or kind of disappointed. I think he was happy, but I'm not sure. They did cut the credits before Jimmy said yes, but I think that the yes was implied. So I think they will sort of go ahead with this venture, but we'll see. So my rating for Inflatable out of 10 is an 8. Extremely good. This was a slow-paced episode that did little to push the story forward, but it was a really good one. In fact, one of the funniest episodes of the series, in my opinion, and the editing style of this episode, the dialogue, everything was top notch, had me completely enthralled. So yeah, a really good one in my opinion. So that's it for my review of Inflatable. Be sure to check back here every week as I review episodes of Better Call Saul, and make sure to check out my channel for many more videos on shows like Game of Thrones, Star Trek, The Walking Dead, Vikings, Daredevil, and more. And be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.